back. It's Talk of the Town on 103.7, 94.1, and Cable 7 this morning. And I'm very excited about my next guest. Dr. Clark Gaither is a family physician in Goldsboro, and he's got quite a story. He's overcome quite a bit. He was the North Carolina Family Physician of the Year in 2002, but that's only part of the story. And he's written a new book that is now out. You can get it on Amazon.com. The book is called Powerful Words. And Dr. Gaither's still practicing in Goldsboro, but he took the morning off and drove over to be with us live in the studio. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Feels like homecoming. You know, I graduated from medical school here.
Oh, did you really?
Did my residency here, too. I lived in Greenville for 11 years.
And how long have you been practicing in Goldsboro?
Moved to Goldsboro in 1992, and I've been practicing there since then. We have family practice. I have a partner, Dr. Keith Clark, and we've been practicing together the whole time. In fact, we went through med school and residency together, so we've been there. So
you were, what year did you graduate from med school?
In 1989.
So you were not one of the first, but you were in the first 10 years or so.
Right.
Yeah, of graduates from the Brody School of Medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't want to they wouldn't want to tell this story. They wouldn't want their story out there about what you went through, because you had to overcome some things to be a successful family doctor, and you obviously have become that. And again, I mentioned that you were named by the North Carolina Association as the Family Physician of the Year in 2002. But what inspired you to write the book was really what the negative parts of your life that you had to overcome to become successful. Talk about that.
Exactly. The basis of the book is really about the magnificence and of struggle and choice and change. There are a lot of events that happen to us that on the surface we might consider them bad or terrible even, or tragic. But think about the things that happened to you in your life you thought were that way, and what happened when you came out on the other side. A lot of times it was probably the best thing that happened to you. And so it's about the precious gift of struggle, because it teaches us things that we need to know in order to live a better and more fulfilling life. And so when I say powerful words, I'm really talking about the stories of your life and sharing those in a way that will allow you to connect with another person on an emotional level. And that's where we have our greatest influence.
Now, when you say that you have to take these things that happen to you and turn them into a positive, it's hard to do that.
It is.
When you're in the midst of the storm, we've all been there. Things aren't going well for us, or maybe we've got a health issue, or maybe something's going bad at work, or you might get fired, or you may have financial problems, or a divorce, or whatever. It's hard to look at that and go, I'm going to be looking back at this, and I'm going to be thinking that this was a turning point for me. It's hard to think that way when it's happening. Give us some advice on how to do that.
Well, it is hard. It's struggle pulls us out of our comfort zone, and it causes us to bend and stretch in ways that we're not used to, and it's painful, and we don't want to go through it, and we don't like it. But more times than not, those struggles teach us something about life and living life on life's terms. And instead of avoiding those stories, I really talk about in the book pulling them off the shelf and taking a good look at them, because if you're still suffering from some of those events, the best way to overcome that pain is to share your story, because somebody else needs to hear what you went through, because you can help some people with what you went through. And so connecting with another person through your story will get you past the pain of your past events that were, difficult for you.
I assume that you actually go through some of the powerful words.
I do.
Can you share some of it with us?
Well, sure. It begins with a core values inventory. If you ask most people, what are your values, they might be able to name a few. Sometimes if you put them on the spot, they might actually have to guess. So I take the reader through a core values inventory. Knowing really what you stand for is very important. If you're honoring your core values, you're probably having an easier time dealing with change and struggle. If you're dishonoring your core values, your life is probably in disarray. So just getting in touch with what it is you value most is very important. And those would be the beginning of your own powerful word list. And so I take the reader in one of the chapters through a core values inventory. You don't actually have to buy the book, though, to do that. If you go to my website, you can download a free core values inventory and take that at home at your leisure. But it begins with knowing what you stand for, knowing what your values are.
Can I interrupt you and read some of the questions that you asked to determine your core values?
Sure.
I find this very fascinating. When you're making people examine their core values, you're asking them questions like, when I was a kid, I used to love to blank.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, my strengths are blank. Number 3, as an adult, I love to blank. And number 4, what 2 or 3 things or activities make you over the top happy as an adult? Now, it's interesting that you make people actually examine that, because we probably don't, it's down there deep inside of us somewhere, but we don't ever think to actually sit and make a list of those things. And I mentioned earlier, I used to participate in facilitate a course called PACE. I don't know if you ever heard of it, Professional and Corporate Effectiveness.
Right.
And one of the interesting things that Jim Newman taught us in that course is that if you don't write it down, it ain't real. Especially with your goals, you got to write your goals down. But you're making people actually do that here as well. You're making them write down, hey, and examine what is it that I'm about? What is it that I love? And what did I love growing up and that kind of thing? I think that's really cool.
It really does. It opens up the book of your life, and you begin to look at some of those chapters. Everyone has core values. They may change a little. The order or ranking of them may change a little over time as you go through different seasons of your life, but they're all there inside of us. And it's important to know what they are so that you can honor them in whatever capacity you choose, whatever it is that you do. Even making a purchase. If one of your core values is thrift, then when you go out and buy the Mercedes, you might be making a mistake. So it's important to know.
Then you're going to be dealing with guilt.
Guilt, that's right. which
is not a powerful word.
Well, it can be a powerful word, but on the negative side.
Yeah.
But yes.
I just opened the book to another chapter here, and some of the powerful words that you use here are start, intentions, self-assessment, choice, and engaged. Yeah. What is that? Yeah, how does that manifest itself?
Well, a lot of people are stuck. They are stuck in jobs that they no longer love or enjoy, or they're stuck in a toxic relationship, or they're stuck in a certain lifestyle, and they feel it difficult to break free of that. And sometimes people can actually get in what's called a comfortable misery, where it's easier to live in an undesirable situation than face the uncertainty of change, which seems to be, at least in our mind, more painful or more difficult. So just beginning to, a lot of people have plans, things they want to do, they keep putting them off day after day, month after month, year after year. Time evaporates, goes by so quickly. We're not here for very long at all, it seems. And so it's important to go ahead and begin to do those things that you feel are important, things that you really want to do deep down inside. And then that gets back to your core values. What is it? What do you want? How are you going to get it? And just begin, just starting.
Interesting. What advice do you have for somebody who is stuck in, let's say they're stuck in a bad relationship, they're stuck in some behavior that they know is negative, and they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Maybe they're stuck in a bad job, or they're just generally unhappy people. What advice? What's the first step?
Well, the first step is acknowledging that your life is not what you wish it to be, that perhaps it's unmanageable. You know, I went through that myself. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've got 25 years of sobriety. My sobriety date is January 23rd, 1990. And that was a very difficult time in my life, but coming out on the other side, I ended up so much better off than even before I became alcoholic that I have to look back and be grateful and thankful. But
So you're a guy who went through that and then became the family physician of the year for the state of North Carolina. So there was some metamorphosis that took place. What was your first step?
Well, acknowledging that I was powerless over alcohol, my life had become unmanageable. That's the first step in a 12-step recovery program. So if there's some other aspect of your life or living that you don't like, just recognizing that, hey, this is not the way I want this to be. I need to make some change. So just acknowledging that there's a problem. And then understanding that you can change. That would be the second step. And then third is that you will change, that you will do something.
Do people generally believe that they cannot change their lives?
A lot do. And, you know, I think we sort of need to get past I can't. Because you can do anything you put your mind to do.
Yeah.
You may not want to do it. It may be uncomfortable. It may be painful. But I tell patients all the time, just stop saying I can't. Because as long as you say I can't, you will be right 100% of the time.
Right.
When you start saying I can, you will be right 100% of the time.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. The book is called Powerful Words. The author is Dr. Clark Gaither. And I bet you are very popular with your patients.
Most. Some not so much. You know, I do get my patients to change their behavior, their lifestyle. It's difficult, but they know my message, and they hear it every time they come into the office. Sometimes they get tired of hearing it, but that's my job. That's you know, is to look after them and help them make the changes that they need to make.
The book is available on Amazon.com. Also, is there a website people can order from?
Yeah, well, you can't order from it, but I do have a website. It's clarkgaither.com. That's a blog. I put up a blog post every week. I also list appearances like this, and there are some free tools that people can download. You just put in your name and email address, and you can download, for instance, the core values inventory that's in the book. It doesn't cost anything. But there's a tab on the website labeled book, and if you click on that, it'll talk about the book, and then it provides links over to Amazon where you can get a copy.
All right. Again, clarkgaither.com, and Gaither is Gaither, clarkgaither.com, and his book, Powerful Words, which is now available on Amazon.com. It's been a treat to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much for having me.
I heard good things about you, and now I know why. It's
thank you.
Very, very exciting to read your book.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Dr. Clark Gaither.